Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, my new best friend, Miles Slattery. Welcome to 100% Humboldt.
Thank you for having me. I didn't even know the name of it. I like the name.
Yeah, 100%. So, like to hear the Miles story. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?
I was born and raised in Southern California, in Del Mar, when it was a very small little surf town.
Nice.
Mom, single mom, two brothers. One's a lawyer, one's a artist, a photographer. Lived there. I was born in 70, but my mom moved there in 1967. It's much different than what it is now. Now there's Lego land extending all the way east of I-5. When I first moved there was absolutely nothing. It was about a town of about 400 people. So very small. It's very affluent now, but grew up very poor.
Used to be a surf town.
Yeah.
Little surf town.
Yes, it used to be tiny.
Did you go to San Diego High?
No, I went to Torrey Pines.
Better.
And then I became a delinquent and dropped out and ended up being in continuation school. Went to Sunset High.
Where's
graduated that? It's right next to San Diego.
Okay.
So it was right. Went there. I played sports, football and basketball in high school until I got kicked off the team for nefarious activities. And then I got out of high school. It was in my junior year. I left Torrey Pines because I was a little delinquent, and then went and graduated within like 6 months, and graduated a little early, got a scholarship, came up here to Humboldt State, went to Humboldt State from 89 to 94, and then I was still up here until 97. I worked at old Dave Grenzel. You know Dave Grenzel?
I know that name.
Grenzel, his brother Dan is a Caltrans guy, but Dave ran the liquor still for decades. Vietnam vet.
Absolutely.
Wiley guy, hangs out with, was good buddies with Mike Bodie, R.I.P. Mike just passed away recently.
Saw that,
good buddies with Bodie, Tom Benny. So I've known them.
Liquor's still in Valley West?
Yep, on Giantoli.
Yep, famous.
Worked there from literally 89. He was pretty much a good father. I mean, I didn't have a dad growing up, but pretty much a father figure for me when I first came into college, gave me a job. Worked there the whole time I was up here from 89 to 97, and then later in like 1990, I worked at the Sea Grill, Chowder Boy for
is that right?
About 4 years. Yeah, I worked
best salad bar ever back in the day
with Holly and Keith. Yes,
great restaurant. So you and I have a parallel universe. I was raised by my mom in National City.
Oh, okay.
Went to Sweetwater High School.
Oh, sweet.
A couple years earlier, but same idea. Total. A little bit, maybe more delinquent, if that's possible, than you.
Nah, and, I shouldn't tell all of the stories, but I have a hard time believing that one.
I'd really like to hear some of your stories. Yeah, no, it was back in the day where Del Mar was small. My dad lived up in Oceanside, and we'd go up there and surf and stay, and North County was always fun. And Del Mar was that, like Leucadia and Solana Beach, the little village. Yep. And now I'm online, I'm looking at Encinitas, and there's this Instagram group. There's like crazy crime in Encinitas. It's like it's taken off. Like street crime is everywhere.
Yeah, substance abuse is pretty big in Encinitas. Leucadia's tried to stay as small as it was back in the day. I was just there this past week. We were down there visiting, but it's a poop hole to me now. There's way too many damn people down there.
And that used to be the nice part.
Yeah.
It's way used to go to Del Mar Fair in the summers, and
it's not the state fair, but I saw the Police and
sweet.
Come on, who's the ska band? Anyway, the Police and that famous ska band. That was my first concert I went to.
Stray Cats are not ska.
No, it was. Come on,
it'll come.
Yes, it'll come. Yeah.
We used to go to Sports Arena and see Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, and the Dead. And
I was a little hesher growing up. I didn't, big into Iron Maiden and Metallica and those type of groups until I got older.
Yeah, all the hardcore guys.
Yeah.
I could start talking about concerts. I don't want to bore you or me. So what'd you study at Humboldt?
I was a fisheries biology major, graduated in 94. After that, I graduated. I stayed up here for a few more years working, and then moved down to San Diego, worked for a consulting firm down there for about 2 or 3 years. And then I got a job as a chemist. I was a chemist for the City of San Diego's water quality monitoring program.
Wow.
And then I did that for about 8 years. And then 2006, they put a hiring freeze for the city of San Diego and a salary freeze on everybody. Lasted for like 15, 20 years or something.
Whoa.
So I started looking for a job. At that point, my wife was making more money than me. And she had just gotten pregnant. And so we looked into daycare down there, and it was I would be losing money if we took our kids to daycare.
Go backwards,
there.
yeah.
So then that's when I started looking up here, and then I got a job at the City of Eureka, project manager running the stormwater program, and then moved up from there.
So how many years ago was that?
2006. So I've been here for 18 years.
Funny how many people return back to Humboldt.
Yeah, it wasn't planned,
local,
that's for sure.
Yeah, whether they're local or they're transplants, they come back sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like about living here?
I just love it. It's very similar to like when I grew up in Del Mar. You had mountains to the east and the surf. I never will live away from the surf. I've surfed all my life. And ocean is big for me. So
surf guy, cool.
It's very much similar up here. I mean, the weather's, a little more wet and damp, but other than that, it's very similar.
Yeah.
And there's really good surf up here. There's better surf up here than there is in SoCal.
Yeah, my buddy Justin that works at the Black Book, he's got all these secret spots up the coast because he calls them people all the way to Gold Beach.
Yeah.
And there's all these cool spots that he won't tell anybody.
Yeah, it was in college when, it's changed a lot up here. You used to go out to line up and there was nobody, and it's packed. It's comparatively to what it used to be.
Where do you surf now, like Camel or?
Well, I kill with my kids, and so I'll go with Camel, but, I'll surf anywhere. My favorite spot is Canes Road up by the lagoons.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's way up there.
Yeah, it's really good beach break. A lot of the beach breaks up there are really good. That's where a lot of those secret spots I'm sure your buddy goes to. But there's some really good beach breaks along
He's
there.
got several, yeah. So our secret spot is right above anywhere on Scenic Drive with my wife and I in the van and a picnic and a bottle of wine, some Dick Taylor chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Hey, there's the Dick Taylor bag.
He must sponsor.
Yeah, I wish.
Andy, sponsors?
Yeah. I need some sponsors. I should probably do that. So, yeah, no, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So what's a city manager do?
If you talk to Rob Barkley, I don't do anything. I don't get paid too much.
Yeah. I got to get Rob on the show. I was telling Nick, I go, let's get Rob here. He goes, yeah, why wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, no, it's a great idea.
Nick entertains everyone.
Yeah. I work at the direction of council, and they set policy. I direct staff to implement that policy. So through programs and services to implement the policies that they come up with. And so it's a very interesting job. It's similar to my, I was a community services director before that, ran Parks and Rec and the zoo and
up here.
All of the, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's when I started project manager in Public Works. Public Works was a much bigger department back then. It incorporated all of community services as well as what's in Public Works now.
Is that Parks and Rec too?
Yeah, it had Parks and Rec, Harbor, Zoo, everything.
Rec major, Humboldt State.
Oh, nice.
Back in the day.
And so, yeah, we just basically implement policy. Much to people's chagrin, I'm not political at all. I could work for anybody, and I take direction very well.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I like the write-up on the website. It has, always encourage feedback, listen to concerns and needs, creating a space, conversations. I mean, what else is there if you can't listen to concerns and, get involved?
Yeah, my coworkers think I'm crazy because I actually enjoy the grief sometimes. The grief happens often. And
it's called feedback.
Both sides have a problem and it's my opinion that you're never going to make everybody happy. So as long as you're open and honest about it, you got nothing to worry about.
There you go. I like that transparency. I don't have answers, and that's transparent.
Yes. I've said that before, yes.
I don't have all your answers.
I can't tell you why that is happening. I've said that often.
Yeah. Yeah, well, hey, you didn't create it, you can't fix it. Maybe, that's a legit deal. So what do you see our challenges? I mean, we'll get to the parking and housing thing here. We'll cycle to that, I'm sure. But what general, I've sat with a lot of people that said, healthcare, housing, homelessness. I mean, what's your perspective? What do we have to address sooner than later?
I mean, priority-wise, I mean, obviously homelessness is a huge issue, and that correlates with housing, and that also correlates with health, the healthcare. You know, a lot of the problems that we have with healthcare is that we don't have the housing stock for folks that are in that field, whether they're on the low level or on the high level. So I think all of that is associated together. I do think that, economic development can cure a lot of those woes, and I think that we've done really well with that in the recent history. We've had more development in our Old Town and Waterfront area than they've had in the past 30 years at least, from private development. We've got well over $100 million in projects going on currently, and so I think those are good things. I'm getting a lot of requests and discussions about properties and interested developers, from hotels to other things like that, and it's good to see, and a lot of the revamping. We're not there, and I'm not, an idiot. I know that there's still a lot more to do, and there's a lot more. Yeah. But I think that that's a big part of it, and that'll help cure a lot of those other issues. But
what's the big patch right between Adorney, below the Ingomar? That they were going to build a Marriott there 30 years ago, never did. Where they do.
So you're talking about basically Halverson Park.
Halverson, thank you.
Yeah. So we just went, we put out a RFP for that property about 6 years ago now, and got the RFP back, awarded it, to Travis and Bodie, Travis Schneider and Stephanie Bodie, and so they just recently got through the permitting for that property there. So the east side of Samoa Bridge is going to be kind of upscale RV park, and then the other part is eventually going to be a mixed-use development.
East side meaning the side toward Arcata?
Yes.
Okay. And then mixed use meaning housing and hotels, or
it could be housing, could be hotels. Visitors serving will have to be on the first floor, which is kind of a wide range of different options. But we did that in 2018 or 19, and then it's just taken a long time to get all the permitting done. But that's happening, and that'll transfer ownership hopefully in the near future.
And then they could develop something.
Yeah.
Or begin to look at it.
Yeah, or begin to look at it. I mean, that's the thing is, we've C to F is another property that's, high on people's lists and priorities and stuff like that. And, when we've done it in the past, we haven't been successful because, well, they turn into lawsuits, but B, it's difficult as a public entity in telling developers on what they want to do.
When you say C to F, meaning down
the gravel lot next to Matticat Plaza.
Of course, yeah.
So that, it's been through 2 different RFPs, gotten pretty far on both of them, had a, disposition and development agreement, and was moving forward with a couple of projects there. Both of those ended up in lawsuits.
Wow.
And it's difficult. I think now there's a lot more prospects and a lot more interest in this area, which is good.
That's good. Yeah, right now it's dirt parking.
Yes.
For events. Dusty and dirty. So the balloon track, that's all Rob Arkley's deal in Security Pacific, right?
Security National. Yep. And they're moving on that. I mean, they've been doing a lot of progress on that. They recently just got a coastal development permit to do some preliminary cleanup of the property, basically to remove some of the debris so that they can do some testing. But yeah, we've been in discussions with Tim and Kenny about getting that done. They just got that coastal development permit to do that cleanup, and then I'm sure they have intentions on doing something in the future.
Okay.
It's got a long way to go, though. The zoning's still an issue. The application to rezone it after that ballot measure was not successful and didn't go through, and so now the property is in limbo as far as zoning.
That's been limboed for, nothing happening to the property for a long time, huh?
Oh, at least 15, yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Remember they were getting closer years ago. They were just...
Yeah, that's when that ballot measure happened.
Yeah.
About 10 years
They voted
10,
it down?
No, they voted for it.
Okay.
It was approved, but once you get that approved, you have to get a local coastal program amendment, and so you basically have to apply to the Coastal Commission, tell them what you plan on doing there, do some environmental studies. They submitted an application. Application wasn't adequate, and then it never got followed up on. So that rezoning never occurred and is never official. And as a matter of fact, right now the Coastal Commission's about to deny that permit. It's going to go back to zone being public. So they'll have to address that if they plan on using that for any other uses.
Hey, how about those trails coming in from Arcata?
It's huge. It's really big. Yeah, that was one of my biggest projects, was building the Waterfront Trail for Eureka, and that was it's good to finally see that Hank's getting that done.
That's your baby, then? Or
I don't know.
At least you're a part of it?
Pretty much did it from beginning to end. Yeah, we got all the grant funding for it, and that's when I kind of transitioned from doing stormwater to environmental programs, and that fell under my purview. And so we first got the grant from California River Parkways for the Hikshari Trail, and that was the first part of it. And then we went out and got all the funding from Caltrans and like 6 other granting agencies. I think it was a total of $15 million to finish it from Truesdale all the way up to Tid Street there.
It's a great legacy.
Yeah,
that's a great spot.
That's just a job, not a legacy.
Yes. Legacy is something else. So when this trail comes in from Arcata, I've been watching every day on the way in from McKinleyville. I look at it and go, okay, so how does it, when it comes to the bridge to Target, are they going to build their own like bike bridge, or?
They're putting, and I think this was the final design, but they put a treatment on it that will allow for people to ride bikes and everything like that, but also still have a flange that will go down so that you can still put whether the petty rail cars that the Driscoll has, and the speeder trains.
The speeder.
So they'll still be able to do that. They're just putting a treatment over the top of it.
Okay. So there's a speeder bridge that I'm thinking of, the 101 bridge that cars cross.
Oh no.
There's
the railroad bridge. That's where the trail's going.
Gotcha.
So the trail's going to go. There was a discussion about cantilevering off of the vehicle bridge on the Eureka Slough, but that didn't work out.
So where's that bridge? It must be east. It must be toward the.
It's toward the bay.
It's west. Okay.
You seen it's got all the graffiti on it? Come on.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very colorful.
Yes. There's good artwork on it.
Yeah, we just got back from Europe where there's a lot of graffiti.
Yeah.
Belgium's like famous for it. It's just crazy. It's everywhere.
Tell Patty Callison there's also a lot of weeds in the gutter there too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's that. So is that. So this is going to get done. Ghirardelli's getting that project finished. Is it Ghirardelli Engineering, the guys at the contractors?
Oh, yes, I awarded it. And I believe they subbed with McCullough, but I'm not sure.
I think they're there, yeah.
Yeah.
I was giving them a hard time. Isn't that a chocolate company?
Yeah. It's odd because when we did we had basically 3 different bid processes for our trail, and it's about 7 miles. And then we just extended to south another mile, so it's a little bit over 7 miles. But not much interest from outside the area. It was almost all local contractors bidding. Yeah. Mercer Fraser got the majority of those bids, but Alves even got one of them. Forget, but there was all local contractors that had done that. So it was odd that we didn't get anybody from out of the area.
Interesting. Is that unusual? So usually they bid stuff and come bring their teams and
for projects that big. It typically is. You'll get people from out of the area. Ours was broken up. I think our biggest section was the section from Del Norte up to Tid, and that was about $7 million or something like that.
Wow.
This project, I believe, is 15, somewhere around there.
So now I get on a bike at Clam Beach and go all the way to the nuclear plant to Spruce.
Yep, there's a little bit of voids in there, but yeah, it'd be nice to get across a little river and get up into Trinidad there.
That would be nice, yeah. Yeah, that'd be a lot of permitting.
Yeah, RCAA has done some preliminary stuff to go south, though, to get to CR. I think that'd be cool. That's probably a bigger priority for most folks right now, is to get down to CR so you can
go around Fields Landing and King Salmon.
Yep.
That's great. What a great legacy. Yeah, we talked about Great Redwood Trail, and maybe some of us could see that in our lifetime or part of it.
Yeah, the Eureka Waterfront Trail, there was a Eureka Waterfront Trail and Promenade recommendations that was done in, was it 98 or something like that? Jen Rice and a bunch of folks put it together. So this has been on the books as a a vision for a very long time for the city of Eureka, and so it was good to get it done. I mean, we started in 2008, and it was complete by 2013. So
crazy how it goes so slow.
Yeah, to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gary Bird's fault. That's the reason why it didn't get
Gary
done.
Bird?
Yeah.
Doc Bird?
Yes.
I like Gary. He's a great guy. So what's your average day look like? You roll in at crack at 10:30 and just light up a smoke and a cigar on the roof?
It depends. I mean, it fluctuates. I mean, it's, obviously with council meetings and stuff like that, you can have some really long days. I usually get in around 9. I work from home sometimes, but usually get around 9. I have many weekly meetings that are, Wednesdays, and then council meetings. I have agenda reviews. Yep. But typically get up, get into work, typically a lot of meetings.
That's right. You're on TV a lot with the council meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You get a lot of TV time.
Every Tuesday, yeah.
So a lot of the same people talk in those meetings.
They do. They definitely do.
Wait, I've heard this guy, and he said something similar last time.
Yes.
And then the anti-vax people, and then there's the other guy. And it's like, what Jody and I very rarely get out of McKinleyville, but we actually went to the We Are Up planning. It was county planning commission. And it was cool. We got to testify and hang out and listen to folks rattle and prattle and tell their 2 cents, and pretty good to participate.
Yeah, no, it is good. And I think we do a pretty good job of that as far as, access both through Zoom and, we stuck to the Zoom and doing the hybrid meetings so we can have both people in person as well as participating by Zoom. And I think it works out well. The more the merrier. Some of the opinions are different than others, but it's still good to allow people to voice their opinions.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that. Here comes my big zinger question. Are you ready?
Yes.
This is like a softball. Here it comes. So after it's all said and done and everybody had their 2 cents and somebody's still not happy and they're being an obstructionist a-hole, what do you do as an institution, as the city manager, as a team to go, you had your shot, you struck out, we're moving on and going to do the project. Love you, mean it. Now go sit down. Yeah. Does that happen?
Oh yeah.
It seems like everybody.
And it happens both ways. A perfect example is Nick's favorite Dole Beer W one-way debacle that happened. And I wouldn't call it a debacle. I shouldn't say that, but it was a lot of public participation.
Is that a street that?
Yeah, we were looking at
this Nick.
Yeah, we were looking at putting W in front of the zoo and Dole Beer on the front of Washington to be one way. In front of the zoo was going to be southbound, and in front of Dole Beer was going to be northbound. And so it was a part of a policy that council adopted that we were implementing. So every time that we do a road project, we try to incorporate all modes of transportation. It's a complete streets policy. Every time we do this, we look at the options and either find options for bicyclists, pedestrians, whatever it may be. Yep. So this was a part of that. And we had made announcements to the superintendent at the time, Fred Van Vleck. That communication didn't go much further than that for some reason. And so by the time we were doing a demonstration and by the time that we were considering it at council, it came as a big shock to a lot of people. And so we had at least 4 or 5 meetings, hours and hours of participation. Did special meetings just for that. But, typically our council would lean going that way, and they chose not to, and so they went against it when it happened.
They listened to the feedback.
Yeah. And it's, it was on both sides. People sit there, and Nick will say that there's nobody who liked that project, but that's definitely not the case. There was...
Sure, there had to be somebody.
Yeah.
There's somebody, Nick. Come on, man. It's like Central Avenue going to one lane and being part... It's just like... It's unless you live in McKinleyville, it might sound okay, but it's pretty much lunacy. And I don't know about Dole Beer and that, but McKinleyville's 4 lanes right now, and it's unimaginable at one lane. It would just be backed up all the way out to Valley West,
especially with the number of lights that are on there.
Correct.
I lived in McKinleyville for a long time, so
yeah.
But yeah, this was a little bit different. It's not so much the volume on it; it's just the school and the concerns from the school. It would have made it extremely inconvenient for folks as far as travel time.
You're the bike guy.
I'm not. See, I walk everywhere, and I do own a bike, but I do walk everywhere.
Did you walk here?
That's our policy that our council has, and so our council has a certain direction. I could have 5 Robin Arcleys on there, and I would do just as good a job for him as I do for them. So it's not.
Amen.
It has nothing to do with any of my opinions. While I do hold some opinions, whether people ride or a bike or drive a car, I could really give 2 cents about.
That's how Amsterdam got bicycles in all of Netherlands and lots of Europe. It took years of planning and meetings, and now it's amazing. Everybody's on a bike or a train. It's so cool to go over there, and a car is just lunacy. Why would you have a car?
It's similar. My brother went to law school out in Washington, D.C., and it's very similar there. You own a car there, it's pretty much worthless.
Yeah, have an e-bike, just ride around. Yeah. So were you part of the J and I Street
H&I?
H&I, sorry.
Yeah, so that was another one that was, I mean, it was a super long process. We had a grant with RCAA to evaluate that property, those 2 main thoroughfares, and went through many meetings with Eureka City Schools, many meetings with the public, went through all that, and then went out and got grant funding, and then that happened. I live right there. I walk that street every single day, both of them, and in my opinion, it's been successful. I think the aesthetics of it are better as well.
Fine.
And,
drive right through. It's
crowded. No different than, we got Harris, Henderson, other major thoroughfares, Myrtle. They're all 1 lane, and having that was, and, as much as Nick may deny this, everybody on H&I love what has happened there. I haven't heard a negative comment from any of the neighbors.
Would you deny that, Nick? Nick's like the 5th wall. He's like, so let's talk about Arkley and the downtown development around housing and stuff. I'd love to hear the history. You guys are mandated to create some housing. There's some stuff I don't fully understand it, but you can explain that. And then we're going to talk. We'll do the super fun part.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right.
I usually save the fun part for last. Why would I do that? So here it is. You ready? We'll do the fun part now. So you and your sweetheart get to go anywhere to dinner in the county, and it's on Nick because he's loaded. Where do you guys go to dinner? Where would you choose to eat?
Oh, I can't answer that. There's so many of them.
Top 5.
If the owner of the AA didn't hate me so much, I'd probably go get a steak.
Nice.
No, I'm just joking. I'm still go there. I love you, Mike. I always have.
Mike's cool. Mike's cool.
So all of them. I mean, there's really good restaurants. My kids really love the Diver, so we go to the Diver often.
Good food.
Yeah, they love the grab there. There's many of them. Marcella's. I mean, I brought Marcella into the golf course, and so Cochina Mariposa.
She's great.
The golf course is killing it.
Yeah,
so that's always good food.
They were at Beaupre. She was there. She started Taco Friday.
Yeah, that's how I stole her. So I was.
That was
I used
you.
to play in the league night. Yeah, I stole her.
Crap!
And started a business for her and her mom.
I used to go up there every Friday, man, and that was you.
Yes, it was.
See, Mike.
So we got that.
She's a really
a lot of them. 511 has epic food. We have some pretty good restaurants. We
really do. Yeah. We have good food. All right, question number 2. You get to hike for the day. Where do you go hiking?
I'd probably say on the beach, most likely, or Strawberry Rock or something like that. But likely the beach.
Okay.
I used to run on the beach all the time, and now I just walk. But take my dog there, dogs, and the beach is my go-to spot.
Gotcha. Hey, surfer question. Perfect conditions, nobody's out. Where are you going to surf?
Canes Road.
Canes Road. That's your favorite. That's your go-to.
I like a steep beach break, yes.
So Canes, does it actually go east as well up into the hills? Or is it just...
I believe it does. If you come you can only get on it on the southbound. I don't think you can get it on it from...
But that's on the other side of Big Lagoon.
Yes.
Yeah. Between Big and whatever Dry or whatever the next one is.
It's Dry, but yeah.
Yeah. I think my wife has hiked out that way.
Yeah.
There's some...
And then I've surfed the end of... Freshwater Lagoon at the very far north end and had some really good surf. My first time that I know of that I was swimming with a shark, and I've seen a shark out there. But it was a really, really good surf. And then the mouth of the Klamath was, I've surfed that really good as well, which is a scary place to surf, but it's good.
There's a lot going on that.
I'm sure there is. I
Sharks
just
and
don't want to
salmon and
know.
stuff. Yeah.
It's weird though. We just got back from SoCal and surfed, Scripps and Del Mar Beach Break.
Yep.
And way more sharks. They do drone footage, and there's a boatload of sharks. There's been 2 swimmers nipped in Del Mar Beach Break in the last
in Del Mar.
3 months. Yeah.
You used to go to Black's Beach?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was
got
fun.
some really good footage of Black's. Yeah,
yeah. I bet you did.
Good. Yeah.
So Black's is a nude beach.
No, I wasn't referring to that.
Just for the record, Nick. No, of course not. No,
there's two of the biggest days I've ever surfed for Blacks, and then I surfed Patrick's Point when I was in college here, and it was good 20 plus.
Pretty epic, yeah. Blacks could break really big.
Not this past winter, but the 2 previous before that, it was 20 plus.
Great, and good form.
Perfect. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, really good.
Well, I got some stories.
Tough paddle, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Blacks is cool. That felt like you were away because you have to hike to get there, telling you nothing, but yeah. Huh. All right, good surf story. So you have a mandate to create more housing for Eureka, and it started when, and how is it funded, and how's it going, man? I know you're getting some opposition to that.
That's fine. I mean, like I said, it's something that our council's directed and the state has mandated. Mm-hmm. There were ways of doing it differently, but our council chose to do it the way that we did it. And so what it is we do a general plan update every 20 years, and this is a part of that general plan. It's called the housing element. So back in about 2018, Rob Homeland was our community services director at the time. He's at the Harbor District now. Did a really good job of getting public input, and basically for the general plan, he did a big presentation about what people in Eureka want Eureka to look like. Do they want it to look like Broadway and what we see on Broadway, or they want to look like it's in Old Town? And the way that he describes that is that the zoning changes that we made in the 50s and 60s resulted in development that you see along Broadway. Prior to the 50s and 60s, resulted in the development that you see in Old Town. Yeah. It's very clear that people were much more supportive of infill development. Obviously, we can't go much further. We're pretty built out. So they're in favor of infill development, redevelopment of existing properties, lessening parking, and allowing property and development to go to the property lines. Decreasing setbacks, allowing for higher buildings, those type of things. So that was proposed. They did about 200 people showed up to the Wharfinger to hear that presentation. They did, voting and little sticky notes on what people wanted to see. Based off of those meetings, we developed our housing element. When we first did our housing element, it wasn't intended to offer up property. So what we did, as we had done in the past, for the affordable component of the housing element, we said we can demonstrate we have the appropriate zoning to accommodate these numbers, and we want to get through that with accessory dwelling units. And so we did that, submitted it to the Housing Community Development, the Department of State. We got a bunch of people commented that was not adequate. And so that's when we started looking at other alternatives. And one of those alternatives,
in terms of number of units of housing?
No, not being successful, because we had done it in the past and we never met the goals. And the state was very much, and what's a misnomer for a lot of people, they think that the housing element is solely related to affordable housing. It's not. There's over 900 units that we are required to build by 2027. Of those, 300 are affordable. And then there's about a third of it that are market rate, and then another third of above market rate. And so we're not just doing
27's coming houses up. Yeah, that's not that far away. Yeah.
It is. Now, when they say develop, it needs to be in the process. We need to have agreements. We have disposition and development agreements and be going through the process. But a lot of that's going to be helped. Anyway, to stick to the subject, that happened. We resubmitted our housing element. Housing element got approved. After it got approved, we did our first set of requests for proposals of basically, here's 3 properties. Who wants to develop them? Send us your financials. Send us what you can do and your experience, and then we'll pick one of you.
And these are parking
lots. The first ones that we did were 8th and G, Sunny and Myrtle, and 6th and M. Link Housing was awarded that. I think we had 4 respondents to it. We chose Link Housing to do that. Didn't really hear much. There was one on 6th and M we did, because after that was awarded to them, they did specific meetings and did outreach to all the neighbors and stuff. And so we heard from Pro Pacific about them losing their personal parking lot to put their vehicles there. Heard from some of the other people that there were concerns, but it didn't really rise to the level of anything major, because when those concerns were brought, Link went out and mitigated for those things. They're talking about microtransit, all those other things. But then we were about set out the second RFP, which was going to be more 3 parking lots that were going to be in Old Town. It was going to be 2nd and E, 5th and H, and 4th and G. When we told everybody that was going to happen, there was significant concern. So I made the decision to stop the process, got the state super pissed off, and we held 3 meetings to discuss those properties and concerns. When we discussed those properties concerns, I made the offer of, look, if you guys think these are so valuable, we're willing to trade properties with you. We don't have any money to purchase properties, but if you want to find another property that provides the same capacity for housing and allows it from a zoning perspective, then we'd be more than willing to trade with you. So I had discussion with John Dalby at Redwood Capital Bank, Pearson's, Kenny, Steve, and Tim at Security National. We had money properties that were allowed and would have worked. With Redwood Capital Bank and Pearson, they ended up doing a third-party deal. He traded 3 of our parcels. We traded 3 of our parcels for his property over on Fairfield between Henderson and Harris. And then after that happened, they made a deal with Redwood Capital Bank to buy those parking lots. So all of them were owned by Redwood Capital Bank, and more recently, Security National bought the one adjacent to City Hall. But when we were dealing with Security National, we had a property, had an MOU ready to go. We were going to trade for 5th and D. Everything was ready to go. Had that draft, was going to take it to council. At the same time, we took the one for Pearson. The person who owned the property was on Pine and Harris. The person that owned that property asked more than asking price, and Security National backed out and didn't buy it. So that never traded. So everybody who tells you that this just happened overnight is sniffing glue. This has been a very long process, and we've done as much as we can to get as much input as possible. But, some people just aren't satisfied with that. And so they're definitely not happy with, there's people that are very happy, and I hate to say it, but it's probably about a 50-50. Some people are very excited about putting housing into Old Town and allowing for that. Main Street overall is supportive of that. I think some of the problems that I hear from a lot of local businesses is that for the wages for these retail and customer service type jobs, it's very hard for them to find housing. And that's a good spot for them to be in because it's close to their work and would allow for them to have housing.
And services all down there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're at now. And then there's a lot of lawsuits and other things going on that kind of ancillary to that. But
isn't there a ballot measure of some sort?
Yeah. So Measure F is out there right now, and it's looking to rezone the Jacobs property that just fell out of escrow, and also to restrict and put an overlay on all of the parking lots in Eureka that would require, if any development was to happen there, they would have to maintain the number of public parking, but also on top of that, make sure that they don't have any variances for. So a perfect example, and this is the reason why I consider this to be very anti-development, and Rex Bone made a comment that this is parking is the backbone of redevelopment. And I couldn't find, I thought he was joking when he said that, because the first thing that happens in the 20 years that I've been in this type of work and dealt with development, the first thing that developers ask is, how do I reduce the number of parking, because it costs money and it makes it less feasible to develop properties. Perfect example is the beautiful development down on 2nd and E Street. That property would have never happened if this overlay was put onto that property. There's no way that 4-story with a rooftop bar
sushi joint
would have ever happened if this was a requirement. It's just cost prohibitive.
Yeah. So what about Jacobs? What happened there? What just happened?
I'll tell you, it's really unfortunate, and I feel really bad for the school board because they're taking the brunt of this. I think there was some very bad decisions made by certain administrators and certain lawyers that were representing them, and that they didn't see this coming was very odd to me. It was very clear to me that this was a political ploy.
So there was a sale of the property by a secret buyer?
Well, what it was is, so we were negotiating for years, and it's funny because AMG, whoever represents them, feel free to call me, by the way, at AMG. I'd love to talk to somebody there. He claims
707-444.
No, 599-2053.
You get your cell. Okay, good.
We had negotiated for years, so it was us and CHP looking for that property. We were looking to relocate our corporation yard and also partner with Eureka City Schools on a rec center and maybe some housing on top of that. So we went through a very long process. I got the property appraised. We asked way more. I mean, we offered way more than what it appraised for. It appraised for about $800,000 as a publicly zoned property. Wow. We had it appraised as it being a multifamily zone property, and so that allowed us to offer about $2.8 million for it.
Wow!
So we offered $2.8 for it. CHP was involved in the mix. Come to find out later that they were offering $4 million. So we dropped out of the mix probably about a year before that December meeting happened, maybe a year and a half. So through that whole time, CHP is dealing with the school board, dealing with Fred Van Vleck.
What would they do? Would they have a yard for their
cars? They're going to relocate out of Arcata.
Right, which is really small.
Yeah, but they're new. That's the Department of General Services, that their architect, they have a model
so it'd be a
facility.
Bigger.
It would be a 5-6 acre type thing. They
Gotcha.
they want at least 6 acres. So they continue to negotiate. As a matter of fact, CHP held a public meeting with the neighbors to discuss. So it was very close, obviously. Then at the last minute, they put out an agenda summary saying that they have a new person that is thinking of buying this. And it came out, literally 2 days before the actual meeting was occurring.
Wow.
And then it came to fruition that they were going to buy the property. They promised a 2-week escrow, and that it would be done. I believe I made a comment on this on Nick's show, but they promised a 2-week escrow. Obviously, that didn't happen. I think that the school board wisely wanted to make sure that they were putting up or shutting up, and they basically were subdivided the property so that they could make it good to go. They gave them extensions all the way up to August 8th of last week. And they basically said, hey, you put up or shut up, we're ready to roll. And they came back and said, no, we want to hold on to, just imagine this, November. I wonder why they would want to wait till November.
Is there an election?
And then there's what's funny about it is they're sitting there and saying that, well, of course they would do that, because who would do that if they couldn't? If you buy that property, I'll rezone that property for you within 2 months. So knowing what, these people that are saying, well, I would never buy a property if, I didn't know what the zoning was going to be. When you buy the property, especially in the inland, you can rezone the property, and we'd be more than happy to, especially if it was for housing. We would rezone that property in a heartbeat.
Sure.
And it would be done very quickly. So this excuse that somehow they didn't want to do this because they don't know what's going to happen with the ballot measure is bullshit.
Yeah. So it kind of begs the question, who is this buyer?
I think everybody can make. I can tell you, you'll never be able to trace it to that person. But that person is very clearly, if you read the articles in the North Coast Journal and what came out of the supposedly redacted public records, I think it's very clear when Security National is basically being discussed for 3 months without anybody knowing of it. And then that same deal that was negotiated by Security National on behalf of Security National, then they go away, but just turns out that the same exact deal is there. I don't think it's too hard to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of politics going down.
That's what's so disturbing to me. And I had a political ploy is the reason why they bamboozled our community, our students, and the Eureka City School Board. Totally based on a political ploy. And it's just, it really sucks that they would make it this divisive thing that didn't need to happen, put well-intentioned people on the board in a very bad spot. And
now they're taking some heat for that.
Well, they've been taking heat from the beginning. And they've been given, in my opinion, very bad direction by a school administrator and a lawyer that represents them. Extremely poor advice.
Wow.
But when you're a grocery store owner, a guy that runs a mill, I don't know what Pardo does, and those folks, and Johnson and Olivier, you're not in the business of surplusing public property. You're doing that, so to put it on them is wrong. You definitely have to put it on the people that are giving them advice.
Right. The buck has to stop. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's more convoluted than I would have thought.
Yeah, and it's really disappointing, I mean, to go through all of this, and whoever these people are that are representing AMG, it's a real disservice to our community that they would do that. There's a lot of different things that could have happened, and some of the misinformation that's being put out there is just disgusting.
It seems like that would be a chief frustration in any circle, all this lost time and effort and energy, and we could have been so far down the road if we would have had
100%. It's already
something.
It's been a problem for over 10 years, 15 now or something like that. It's been and you're finally getting to the point where something's going to happen. You have a very well-financed agency that's willing to do something to make a very blighted property no longer blighted, and to play this game is disgusting.
So where does it stand today then? The buyer
ownership, buyers out. Claiming that, if the ballot measure passes, they're going to buy it. And I made this comment on the thing. If the ballot measure passes and somebody buys this, and I'm not speaking to you, Robin, of course, but I would definitely quit my job if the ballot measure passes and they buy it for $6 million. That's the biggest farce I've ever heard.
Wow.
And people who go out there, and somebody posted on social media about how they could justify the costs of $5.3 or $6 million for an 8-acre publicly zoned property. You are sniffing glue. If they're sitting there saying what they did is they took the parcel and said, oh, your average lot size is, 1/10 of an acre. And if you put 1/10 of an acres on there and this is the going price for a house, then it justifies for $6 million. Well, Einstein, you need to put in all of the infrastructure. Every single one of those single family and multifamily have to have their own wastewater fees, impact fees. It would cost you millions and millions of dollars. You have to put in roads, curb and gutter. So when you're doing your math, Einstein, feel free to make sure that you factor in the actual cost, because there's no way, especially if the 40% of that needs to be affordable, you ain't making your money back for decades.
Yeah, that is.
Actually, probably hundreds of years.
Opie used to say that dog don't hunt.
No.
Yeah, I understand. Well, cool. Let's talk about you for a minute. I'm done talking about you. Let you talk about you. So, what's your legacy? Let's go back to the L word. What do you want to be remembered for? And you're just getting started as far as I can see. But what's your what do you want to be? What's going to say on the tombstone? What do you want to be thought about when the day you come to retirement?
I don't, for me, it's like I said, it's odd. I really enjoy what I do, and I think I do it very well, but I don't think of a work legacy or anything like that, or even a personal legacy. I love my kids. I want my kids to be good people. I'm overly honest, and I think that's a good trait, even though it rubs people the wrong way. I try and be as honest as possible. I've learned a lot I was very have to be right kind of guy for a long time, and being in the position that I'm in now, you realize to pick and choose your battles, and I think I do a good job of doing that. And I think the biggest thing to me is treat people, well, regardless of who they are. I don't care if it's a custodian, a policeman, or a billionaire. I treat people the same way.
It's good. Yeah. It's Humboldt, man. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Appreciate you coming on. Parting shots, anything you want to share?
No, I love the new digs though, Nick. This is nice.
Nick's rocking it, man.
Anybody wants to do a podcast, I'm telling you, come on in.
This is the place.
What is it, $10 an hour?
$10. His price went up a little bit. So if we want to get a hold of you, you got your cell phone, but you have an email.
Email. I don't do social media at all. I think it's I don't know. It's I think it's a big problem in our world today, that people getting their news from social media and not doing work. I mean, when we talked about the parking study and some of the misinformation that's being on social, it's just mind-blowing to me, and they don't even bother. All you got to do, I mean, you're on the internet, just Google the damn parking study and read it, and don't listen to this stuff. It's not that difficult. You know?
Now it's far easier to get a meme.
Yes.
Here, it's a cartoon. Oh,
And when it's funny season like this and election season, you want to make up as much stuff as possible.
I see that a lot. Yeah, it's certainly out there. Well, Miles, thanks for being on the show, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks.
All right. You too.